Hello everyone, welcome in. In this video, we will be discussing a question I've seen a lot online in regards to the criminal case against Alexee, and that is, will the state attempt to get Alexee's search history and or text history as it relates to the crime? The question of will the state attempt to get Alexee's search and text history is one of legal strategy. The question as to if they can get her text and search history is one of the civil rules of procedure, which you'll see here, rule number 1-026. If you want to pause to read all of it, that's just basically saying that yes, anything that seems to pertain or be relating to the crime, the state has the right to discover. Should it be admissible is a different question, but in this video we're focusing on the strategy of if the state should or should not try and go searching through Alexee's text message history and search history. First, I'd like to say text history and search history are two different things and would reveal two very different things in regards to evidence in this case. I have two issues with looking into the search history, mainly number one being, what if there is no search history? That would help the defense say that Alexee did not know she was pregnant. Number two is, if Alexee knew she was pregnant and was texting about it with Devon, then what was the motive for killing baby Alex? That could cause a lot of doubt in the jury's mind as to if the baby presented as stillborn to Alexee, which is their defense. So with that being said, this is not legal information in the way of how to get these records because, of course, the state can if they wanted to. This is an issue of the strategy, if they should or not. Two rules when it pertains to law that you'll hear sometimes. Number one, don't ask questions that you don't know the answer to unless you absolutely have to. And number two, don't underestimate your opponent. Meaning, before we assume Alexee left a trail of incriminating searches and texts, let's examine her other behavior. Number one, she was deceptive to many. Number two, she gave birth without a sound. Number three, she ran to that bathroom with all her might. Number four, she never let anyone in, not only into the bathroom, but seemingly in on her secret that she was pregnant, right? So with those observations, I say we cannot assume that Alexee left a trail. Should this have been the plan the whole time, she could have kept this secret so close to the chest that she left no trace of her knowledge, but she could have denied it to the people close to her along the way. I'll get into that more later and how we can use that against her a little bit easier and less risky than looking into search history. Why? With those observations, I can say that we cannot assume Alexee left a trail. Should this have been the plan the whole time, she could have kept this secret very close to the chest, left no knowledge of her pregnancy anywhere, and denied it to everyone all along. And we can use that against her, and I'll get into that more later, but because of something called Brady disclosure, let's say the state looks into Alexee, finds nothing in her search history or text history, that would have to be disclosed to the defense, and the defense could then use that to their advantage, saying, look, Alexee never knew she was pregnant, okay? So with that being said, I personally believe that the state should proceed with caution if they did want to obtain Alexee's search and text history. Now, there's only really a few outcomes if they did find this information. Number one, the search history shows Alexee alone knew that she was pregnant, and that would be good for the state. Number two, the text history would show that Alexee and Devon knew about the pregnancy and never planned on hurting the baby. That would be very bad for the state because it indicates Alexee thought the baby was a stillborn, right? Or else why would they go through with this whole pregnancy together secretly for it to turn out this way? Now, number three, it's possible that they find nothing in either, and like I said, because of Brady disclosure, at best that ends up being neutral for the state, or at worst that ends up being bad for the state because they're the ones who looked, found nothing, and then the defense could claim that Alexee had no clue she was pregnant, which not only could buy some sympathy with the jury, but aligns with her defense in the story the whole time, right? Very dangerous. So let's say Alexee was smart enough, if she ever did have to look something up, to do it anonymously or use a different form of media like just reading a book in the library, which would be untraceable, right, if she did have any questions about her pregnancy. Those are just some speculations. The lack of searches about pregnancy could uphold the defense's argument that Alexee never knew she was pregnant. That could help her attorney say, look, Alexee's been telling the truth. Personally, I don't believe that, but I have to include it, and we have to be aware of it because that is her defense. That's their side of the story. We don't want to incidentally prove them correct in any way. People seem easily confused about premeditation versus intent in the law in New Mexico as it applies to the murder one charge against Alexee, and I feel like Gary could use this to his advantage in blurring the lines between premeditation and intent when it comes to Alexee's defense and everything like that, even though the jury will be reiterated about what the law surrounding Alexee's charges are. It's Gary's whole job to try and build doubt and confuse them, right? So it is not vital, but it is very important that if the state cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Alexee alone knew she was pregnant the whole time, they can aim for the next best thing, which is the jury having to wonder if Alexee knew or not, and causing doubt about the defense's story as to Alexee not knowing. Now remember, the state does not have to prove that Alexee knew she was pregnant. They have to prove that she knew she was putting a live baby into a bag. That is the legal issue at hand here. Even if Alexee did not know she was pregnant until the moment the baby came out, the charges still stand as long as the state can prove Alexee knowingly put a live baby in a bag. The defense to that is that the baby was stillborn. It could still backfire to prove Alexee talked to anyone about this baby other than to deny her pregnancy, as it could cause doubt to the jury as to the baby seeming alive to Alexee. That, coupled with the fact that no one heard the baby, could possibly cause serious doubt for the jury, and strategy-wise, that is not good for the state to be able to prove that Alexee murdered baby Alex. Again, by intent, not premeditation. Now, another reason that there could be no incriminating search history is if Rosa is as overbearing in Alexee's life and is a motive in Alexee's actions as everyone thinks, then it's possible Alexee knew how to not leave a trace for fear of her mom going through her phone at any point. And as for something like going on incognito mode on Google or any other anonymous browser, say that the state subpoenas these records and that's all they get. It shows that Alexee goes anonymous and searches something that we cannot see what she searches every once in a while. Is that enough if you were a jury member to think that she was looking up things about being pregnant or how to get rid of a baby or anything like that? Or is that still too big of a question, right? Obviously, it's just something I have to bring up strategy-wise to think about. If that is something they found, what would that make you think? Because she could have searched for pregnancy symptoms or checking to see if she was okay in an anonymous browser or in incognito mode or whatever. But what would that make you think if you did not know what she searched? That's basically one other question to keep in your mind. Now, the issue with trying to get Alexee's text or search history is, like I've been saying, the possibility of it not existing or maybe even being buried, and in turn making the point for Alexee. Now, I do not think she's a criminal mastermind over here, but I do worry about her ability to deceive and hide the truth. And if she was actively denying this pregnancy to the outside world, she may have been smart enough to not leave a trace of her knowing that she was pregnant. Let me expand even more. Even though it is possible for bleeding to happen while a woman's pregnant, let's assume for a moment that Alexee did not get her period like she was trying to alibi herself with the whole time, since Rosa said that she was buying pads for Alexee. Maybe Alexee had been cunning enough to know that that would throw her mom off and had been aware of the circumstances all along. Just like you can see in Dr. Chris Featherstone's video here on YouTube explaining neonaticide, the mother, meaning Alexee, kind of makes up their mind as to ignoring the pregnancy and that they will not be keeping it in some odd psychological way, as to where they basically know that they're going to kill this baby when it comes out. That's my layman explanation. For the professional explanation, watch his video. So with that being said, I worry about the potential strategy issue should Alexee have been cunning enough to not look things up, not search out issues regarding pregnancy, because let me be very clear, she, in my opinion, did not care about the baby. Should something have happened to it, that would have been all the better for Alexee in a sick, twisted way. She was not acting, in my opinion, how normal mothers-to-be act, especially first-time mothers-to-be. They're usually worried about every little thing, nesting the whole time, all that first-time mom stuff. Alexee was not acting like that. So we have to remember she was actively trying to keep her life as normal as possible. And that included denying and ignoring her pregnancy symptoms. And if you do watch Dr. Chris Featherstone's video, you will see that he says, active denial in a neonaticide mother can calm or stop the typical pregnancy symptoms that one experiences when they are not denying their pregnancy. So with that being said, I do not think it's wise to look into Alexee's search history and texts unless we know we will find something, because if not, the state runs the risk of giving Gary a huge piece of doubt for the jury to consider. In my opinion, the jury will be more sympathetic to the idea that Alexee was unaware of her pregnancy, panicked when giving birth to a stillborn, than they will be knowing Alexee knew the whole time, hid it from everyone, and then killed the baby, allegedly. We're trying to eliminate any issues of doubt that the defense can bring up. And trust me when I say that, in my opinion, I 100% believe Alexee knew the whole time. And first of all, mainly because you can't be in denial of something that you're not aware of, right? Secondly, the defense's own argument that Alexee never questioned if she even could be pregnant is a very strong argument in and of itself for the state to be able to exploit. Let me explain. The state can make all the inferences that Alexee should have known that she was pregnant, and Devon's mom, and Alexee's mom are all more than likely going to say Alexee did not know. Now, that will look suspicious to the jury when they see all the surrounding inferences showing Alexee should have known she was pregnant, like her in her cheer uniform, looking all pregnant, the diet pills, the stopping of the birth control, knowing exactly when to go to the bathroom after denying giving birth, and that all indicates Alexee's guilt and knowledge of the crime. Rather than search for things that may or may not exist and that could possibly help the defense, I say use their own defense against them by causing doubt as to how Alexee could have not known, using her denials to others and the motive to keep her life the same through witness statements from Devon and Rosa, which I'll explain later, to show how Alexee's actions indicate she alone knew what was happening and did everything in her power to not address her pregnancy and get rid of this baby. Any questions left for the jury will be to wonder the same line of questioning that we all have, and it's the one that leads us back to Alexee's guilt and knowledge of being pregnant, which is, why not question her weight gain as a pregnancy? Why start taking diet pills, basically acknowledging weight gain, and still not suspect that she could be pregnant? Why hide the baby when it came out if she never had an issue with the baby in the first place? Those questions will only be able to be attempted to be answered by the defense with, in my opinion, lies or contradicting statements, right? Because we all know the truth is pretty clear. Whatever they offer as an explanation to why Alexee never questioned her weight gain, diet pills, or suspected pregnancy will be questionable, meaning they do not have solid answers for these questions other than Alexee's an idiot or Alexee was malicious with this fake ignorance. There really is no in-between on this issue. I've said before in one of my other videos, I don't know which one, but there is an issue when you have an answer for every question, like an innocence paradox. Basically, sometimes innocent people who have questions in regards to the crime or unanswered things in their trials leave those up to the jury to decide or figure out, and that works out in their own advantage, and they are found not guilty. On the other hand, guilty people who offer explanations for every single question that could come up in turn end up looking more guilty and are found guilty. It's a weird paradox, but it happens. So, I know my opinion on this strategy may be controversial to those following the case because I do understand the want to prove that Alexee knew she was pregnant this whole time through text and search history. But if we weigh the risk that she did not tell anyone the truth via text and did not care enough to look any kind of pregnancy symptoms up, because usually that would be in regards to caring about the baby, I feel that risk really outweighs the reward of possibly finding something. And if we don't find it, then the defense is able to use all of that as a way to bring doubt and bolster their claim that Alexee had no clue she was pregnant. And we do not want to accidentally give them something they can use against us in this case if we were the state. As much as we don't really like Gary here, he is a well-trained and sophisticated criminal defense attorney who will see the opportunity wherever it is in this case and take it. I feel it is a safer strategy to obviously depose both Rosa and Devon, get their statements to the questions that will be needed to be on record, and then use their own statements to build the case against Alexee. We can start with Devon here. As you can see, there are three different ways for him to answer this question, and we will start all the way on the side and then go over. So, Devon, did you know Alexee was pregnant? Answer, yes. Question, why did you hide it? Answer, we kept it a secret from Rosa and everyone for whatever reasons, be it Rosa's temper or cheerleading or whatever reasons he gives. That ends up being bad for the state because, like I said before, that could indicate that he and Alexee were going to keep the baby, and maybe the baby did appear stillborn, and that is why she discarded him. Now, moving on, you could say, Devon, did you know Alexee was pregnant? Answer, no. Then you question, did you suspect Alexee could be pregnant? Answer, yes. Question, why did you suspect that? Answer, because blank, whatever, because she was gaining weight, because she threw up one morning, whatever, right? So answer, because of blank. Well, question, then did you ask Alexee if she was pregnant? If he answers yes, then you say, well, what did she say? The answer would obviously have to be some form of how she denied it. And then again, did you ask Alexee if she was pregnant? Answer, no. Why did you not ask her? And there's no real good answer for that. So either of those answers would probably be good for the state because they would end up showing Alexee's deception. Now, the last one is more intricate, but it still ends up being good for the state. So you ask, Devon, did you know Alexee was pregnant? Answer, no. Question, did you suspect Alexee could be pregnant? Answer, no. Question, why did you not suspect that? Answer, I can't really think of a great answer for that, but because she never seemed pregnant. Okay, whatever. Answer, because whatever. Then, as the state, you could ask to enter the evidence that you would already have prepared, which would be the photos of Alexee looking super pregnant at some point, right? And then you would impeach him, make him seem not credible, because it'd be like, oh, so you saw her looking like this and never questioned if she could be pregnant? That would be good for the state because, number one, it basically looks like he's lying for Alexee, or whatever else the jury can infer as to why this guy may be dumb as a box of rocks if he didn't really recognize that stomach, yada, yada, yada. So that one's a little more intricate because it involves having to enter evidence right off the bat in his testimony or whatever. But anyways, these are the ways without having to possibly get yourself into a Brady situation to strategically trap the other side using the witnesses, okay? Now let's move on to Rosa. You would ask, Rosa, did you know Alexee was pregnant? The answer would have to be no, because obviously on body cam, Rosa has already said, I had no clue Alexee was pregnant. I've been buying her pads the whole time, blah, 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 blah. So, Rosa, did you know Alexee was pregnant? Answer, no. Question, did you suspect that Alexee could be pregnant? Answer, yes. Question, did you ever ask if she could be pregnant? Answer, one of two ways, either yes, then you would say, question, what was Alexee's response? Answer, some form of denial, right? Some kind of answer Alexee gave as to why she's not pregnant, which is good for the state because it, again, shows Alexee's deception. So you do that back all over again. Did you ever ask Alexee if she could be pregnant? Answer, no. Question, why did you not ask her? Answer, well, there's really no good answer for why you wouldn't ask your daughter if she was pregnant if you thought she could be pregnant, right? So that's good for the state because it could show maybe, number one, either Rose is lying and she did ask her, but the answer wouldn't be good. But I can't accuse anyone preemptively that they would lie in a deposition under oath or on the stand or whatever. But depending on what her answer is, she's pretty much trapped, right? Well, why didn't you ask her? Either you're basically a piece of crap mom who just didn't care that she could be pregnant, or there's some weird thing going on as to why she didn't ask her, and that helps the state in one way or another. Now, you could go the other way. Question, did you suspect that Alexee could be pregnant? Rosa answers no. Question from the state, obviously, not even after the doctor said Alexee had a miscarriage? Answer, well, there would be no real good answer for that from Rosa. You would begin impeaching both Rosa and Alexee at the same time using the statements made in front of the RN, which I featured in my last video, which basically talk about when Alexee came out of the bathroom, the doctor believed Alexee had a miscarriage, and then Rosa and Alexee had a back and forth in which Alexee allegedly denied being pregnant still was saying she's never had sex, yada yada yada, all in front of the RN. So with that being said, that would again start to impeach not only Rosa but Alexee as far as why you never suspected or thought Alexee could be pregnant and things like that. And so we don't necessarily need text messages, search histories, things that could possibly get us in a situation where we're trapped and have to give favorable evidence over to the defense if we were the state. Rather, we should use what we have against Alexee already and just expand upon that. Because so much stuff happened right away with police investigation and body cam footage, we have a lot to go off of that the scope will be opened up into. Again, we're still waiting on the judge's evidence, but all of these kind of things will be allowed in. The judge really has no reason to exclude any kind of statements made by Rosa or Devon, as they are the closest people to Alexee, right? So, with all that being said, I hope this can kind of sum up as to why I don't really think the state should look into the search history or text message history of Alexee, specifically in regards to her pregnancy or mainly with Devon, because it kind of would give the defense a leg up in this case should it not go extremely perfect for the state in the evidence they get. And like I said, you do not want to have some kind of Brady violation where the state gets caught having found stuff that makes Alexee look good and doesn't give it to the defense. So, like I said, with caution, the state should probably just try and peel back the layers of what they already have in front of them. I'm sure they're just waiting for the evidence to come back to get an initial, deposition on Rosa, Devon, and Devon's mom, all the people who should have and definitely did see Alexee at that time and should have known that she was pregnant or suspected it at least, right? And then start trapping them within their own statements. That's always the best way to go, in my opinion, strategy-wise, because the more you get on record and the more statements they make, the more, if they're not being truthful, the likelihood of you catching them in an inconsistency goes up and up and up, and you will eventually be able to take their queen, so just for lack of a better term. So thank you so much if you've made it this far in this video. If you do have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And I do genuinely enjoy the conversation. If you're interested in following this case all the way to trial, please subscribe, as I will be covering it all along the way with a legal focus. And it's your girl Friday. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.